what would a name for a fake Big Mac be? Big Mike.
Fact Mac.
The Fact Mac. Hey everyone, it's Kenji. Today we're going to be making a Big Mac. So the classic McDonald's sandwich, 2 layers of beef set up in a club style with a bun in the middle, special sauce, lettuce, shreddis, onions, and cheese and pickles. We're not really going to try and necessarily change it. You know, this is still going to be the Big Mac you know and love, or maybe know and hate. We're just going to use ingredients that we bought at the supermarket, and so things that you're doing by hand in case you are, for whatever reason, averse to going to the actual drive-through. So one of the unique factors of a Big Mac is that it uses these dehydrated, rehydrated onions. They're the same onions that go onto a hamburger and a cheeseburger at McDonald's. I tried a bunch of different methods of doing this, including buying dehydrated onions, and none of them came out quite right. What I found works best is if you take onions that are finely minced like this. This is just a regular yellow onion, finely minced. We're going to put it in the microwave, low heat, the lowest heat, for 10 minutes. What that's going to do is it's going to give you the texture of the onions that have been sort of dehydrated. And then at McDonald's, they put them on the griddle and then they get kind of wet and then they sit there for a little while, and so they rehydrate that way. At home, we don't really have the means to do that or the wherewithal to do that. So dehydrating the onions in the microwaves gives you a much sort of fresher onion flavor, but more intense onion flavor. Next, we're going to make the sauce. So a lot of people think that the McDonald's sauce is sort of like a Thousand Island style ketchup and mayo mix, but if you actually go and look at the ingredients to it, it does not have any ketchup at all. It is a mayo and mustard based sauce with some pickles in it and some other flavorings. So I'm going to start with about 1.5 tablespoons of mayo. Then I'm going to do about 1.5 teaspoons of sweet pickle relish. About 1 teaspoon of, well, I'm using Dijon. Normally I would be using yellow mustard for this, but I'm using Dijon because I didn't have any yellow mustard. I'm gonna gray poop on this here sauce. About 1 teaspoon of Dijon mustard. I'm going in with 1/4 teaspoon of Marmite. So Marmite, definitely not an ingredient in regular Big Mac sauce, but there are these other sort of umami enhancing ingredients in the Big Mac sauce that Marmite has a lot of the same qualities of. So 1/4 teaspoon of Marmite, about 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric. And then if we wanted this red, the way McDonald's gets it red is using a paprika extract. I'm not going to bother, it's just going to be a kind of yellowish sauce, and I'm fine with that. I'm also going to add 1 teaspoon of sugar. So this is a sort of sweet and sharp from the pickles and the mayo, and a little bit savory sauce. And finally a pinch of salt and MSG. And we're going to mix that all up. You know, a while back, McDonald's Canada did a campaign where they were trying to show people, hey, like, our food is actually made from real stuff. And so they showed like the insides of their factories. They showed how their Big Mac sauce was made, all that stuff. So you can actually find those videos on YouTube. Their Big Mac sauce, it is, mustard and mayo, not ketchup and mayo. So the color's going to look wrong, but the taste should be spot on. So the McDonald's Big Mac bun is a triple-decker bun. It has sesame seeds on it. I actually counted the number of sesame seeds on a McDonald's Big Mac bun. It's around 600. So we're going to aim for around 600 sesame seeds. You can just buy a sesame seed bun at the supermarket, but I generally find that when you buy a sesame seed bun at the supermarket, they tend to be kind of too nice for a Big Mac. You know, I want something that's a little bit smaller and a little bit softer and squishier. So I'm just buying sort of a cheapo, regular hamburger bun from the supermarket. I'm going to take 2 bottom buns, and then one of them we're going to very carefully slice off a thin layer so that we end up with our middle stacker bun there. And then for the sesame seeds, I'm going to apply a little bit of egg wash. I tried doing this with a brush. I find it actually works better if you do it with your finger. A brush ends up putting on too thick a layer of the egg wash. But this is just an egg white that I'm going to use to very gently moisten the top of the hamburger bun. And we are going to put on an abundance of sesame seeds. You can count out 600 individual seeds if you'd like. but you don't have to. And then we're going to go into our toaster. And we're going to toast it just for a minute or so to get those sesame seeds to stick. We're not really looking to add any extra color there. We're just trying to get the sesame seeds in. I always like shredded iceberg on a hamburger because I like the way that it kind of it forms like a mop for your hamburger juices, like the juices that would drip down into the lower bun normally. If there's a nice bed of shredded iceberg on there, the hamburger juices almost become like a vinaigrette for the like a beef vinaigrette for the salad, you know, for the iceberg salad. So we're gonna take a little bit of iceberg and then just really finely shred it. This is actually the Ninja Turtles Nemesis's first job. All right, so we're going to wait for those onions to finish cooking, and then we're going to come back and we're going to cook our burgers. So I will see you in a couple minutes. So I says to Mabel, I says, oh, all right. Onions are done. So you can see they're slightly dehydrated. Can you see that there? You see these dehydrated onions? So they're kind of dry, but still a little moist. They just kind of intensify in flavor. They become a little sweeter. Their raw edge disappears, and they give you that sort of familiar McDonald's taste. All right, so now all we got left to do is cook our beef. The original recipe I published on Serious Eats, it called for grinding your own meat. So it was like a mix of short rib and chuck. You don't really need to grind your own meat for a burger like this. That was back in the era when I used to grind my own meat all the time. These days I got kids and other stuff to do, so I just buy my ground meat most of the time. This is just ground chuck 80-20 from the supermarket. We're going to season it with a mixture of salt, MSG, a little bit of MSG, and pepper. We're going to season on both sides. So these are patties that are just under 2 ounces each. I think the average McDonald's hamburger, the patty that goes into the regular burger, is I believe 1.75 ounces or 1.8 ounces, and the Big Mac uses 2 of those patties. So these are just under 2 ounces a piece, which I think is a reasonable amount of beef for a single sandwich. All right. Salt, pepper, MSG, both sides. The one big difference I'm going to do here is that a Big Mac is made from a frozen puck of beef that gets cooked on a griddle from 2 sides. What we're going to do is we're going to do this sort of smash burger style. So I've got my Bermuda teppanyaki here. They are the sponsors of this recipe, by the way. But I'm going to place my beef onto this preheated teppanyaki grill. I got a little sheet of parchment paper here. I'm going to put over each patty, and then I'm going to use my trowel to smash them. You know, the idea with a smash burger, at least the way I do them, is that we're going to cook these things like 90% of the way through on that first side. Okay, and then we're going to give them a flip and just barely cook the second side. The idea is that by cooking them most of the way through on the first side, you're going to get a really, really nice sear. Especially with a pan like this, it's pretty thick stainless steel, which is important. You don't want to do this on nonstick. You want to do this on a griddle like this or in a stainless steel skillet, because you actually do want the meat to stick to it. So you see, when I spread these patties out like this, they don't do a lot of shrinking, which is what would happen if you did them on, say, cast iron or nonstick. So by spreading them out like that, cooking them through on one side, you're storing a lot of heat energy in this pan. You're transferring it to those patties. You're going to get a really nice layer of browning on that first side. So you'll see when we flip it over, you'll see the results. And in the meantime, I am going to toast my buns. At McDonald's, they do a dry toast on their burger buns, so we're not going to add any fat or anything like that. And then we're going to start assembling. So, lower bun, some sauce, Little pile of shreddis. A couple of pickle chips. The McDonald's pickle chips have no ridges, but I got the ridged kind because that's what I could get. I'm gonna scrape up my patty. Give it a little kiss on that second side. This is a razor scraper, by the way. Yeah, so you see that? You see how nice and crispy those edges get? And we're gonna just barely cook that second side. A McDonald's Big Mac is what you would call at In-N-Out, what you would call a double single. So 2 patties, 1 slice of cheese. Okay? Which I think is also a reasonable ratio for something like this. Second layer, second set of sauce. We'll go in with our onions here. Some more shreddis. A couple more pickles chips. Our second patty. And our top run. And that is it. That is a good looking Big Mac. What would a name for a fake Big Mac be? Big Mike.
Yeah. Fact
Mac. The Fact Mac. It is good. I do like a Big Mac, even from McDonald's. I lived in Harlem twice. Once when I was growing up, and then again like in my 20s. And in both of those eras, I lived above a McDonald's. And so Big Macs were sort of my late night staple. If I got home and I was kind of peckish and didn't feel like making instant ramen or something like that, I would go down to the McDonald's downstairs and get a Big Mac. I would get an orange drink, like a high C, which comes with one of those like real bad for the environment McDonald's thick plastic straws, so that you can drink like half of it in one sip. Yeah, I have fond memories of that, but this is better. The trick to making a homemade Big Mac. Start with your sauce, which is a mixture of mayo, mustard, relish with a couple other flavorings in there. You want onions that are partially dehydrated, so we microwave them on low heat for about 10 minutes on a paper towel to dehydrate them. Beef seasoned with salt, pepper, a little pinch of MSG, and then a middle bun that is cut from the bottom of another bun, of a second bun. Griddle the beef. I do mine smash burger style, so I get a lot more sort of that nice brown flavor. You can cook your burger patty however you like, of course, but I like doing it smash burger style, and then layer it all together, and it's not bad. All right, guys, gals, non-binary pals, I will see you next time. Bye. Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video. You can find the full article and recipe along with bonus content and my newsletter for free on my Patreon. Don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel for more videos like this, or my alternate channel, Kenji Lopez Main, for my dining content. And follow me on Instagram at Kenji Lopez-Alt for daily updates. You can also get signed and personalized copies of any of my books. That's The Food Lab, The Walk, or my children's book, Every Night is Pizza Night, shipped from Book Larder here in Seattle. Find the links to all of this, as well as all of the tools I used in today's video, in the description below. Thanks.